Hello, Exiles. This is Ryan from Behind Eyes Gaming, and welcome to my day one update for my Wave of Conviction Ignite Elementalist. I leveled this up and had a lot of fun with it. I had to switch some things around. I was previously not using a shield, I was actually dual wielding scepters. I had a couple +1 scepters with some added damage and like fire damage and stuff. Currently I'm just using the single scepter that gives me added damage, fire damage over time multiplier, which is really nice, and some other stuff. But basically the idea of this build is that it does a lot of single target damage because we're scaling up Wave of Conviction with a bunch of additional damage for the initial hit. So the idea is we're going to use things like Hatred, we're going to use things like Herald of Ash to give us a percentage of our physical damage as extra fire damage. I'm also using a cluster jewel that has Grim Oath, using a bunch of different sources of added physical. So yeah, Grim Oath gives me 10% of physical damage as extra chaos. I'm getting 5% of physical as extra fire from Divine Fury, 5 is extra lightning. It doesn't matter what kind of damage it is because all of your damage can ignite, so it takes the entire hit. It's not just the fire damage with the Shaper of Flames from Elementalist, and it will add that all together into one huge ignite. Currently the tooltip DPS for our ignite is somewhere in the over 300,000 range, and that doesn't factor in the huge amount of the exposure that I apply. So I have 15% exposure plus an additional 25%, so that brings us to 40, and I am also going to get 45 because I'm going to get this last fire mastery, but first I'm going to get some tanky stuff here in combat stamina because I definitely need more tankiness, which is part of the reason why I switched to a shield, because once I got into red maps I found myself dying a lot, and I thought and I can probably get a better shield than this and just go up and get glancing blows manually along with all of these shield nodes with Sanctuary. But this shield with no block investment at all gives me glancing blows, which gives me 52 attack block and 36 spell block, and I have 0 other investment at all in anything like that. I leveled with Golem, so I used Liege of the Primordial and Elemancer. And before I get too detailed into the actual build, I just wanted to explain the concept. Another important thing is I use Replica Emberweight. This is a big deal. I have to get more quality on it, and I'll probably have to divine it or get a better one. I'm probably just going to divine it because divines are very easy to get this league. I've gotten like 20 of them and used most of them this league already, or sold them. So yeah, I'm just gonna quick get my last watchstone. So currently I just need to do this last conquer, and I will have all of my watchstones and I'll be able to do Cirrus. I am gonna hold off on doing Cirrus for now until I fix some things, but yeah, basically just gonna jump into this pit. It's just gonna be a white tier 11 pit, but it'll still kind of give an example. Pit should be, in theory, dense enough to kind of show off the mechanics of this build. The details are not that important, but yeah, basically when I ignite things, my ignites spread to other things, and I should probably get some frenzy charges going. I pretty much one-shot most things. I kill bosses very quickly, generally speaking. Okay, I need to get my onslaught going. There you go. And I have a lot of armor. I'm using determination. I have Molten Shell, a cast on damage taken Molten Shell set up. Getting stuck behind a wall here. So yeah. So basically you're clearing, like, if everything's dense enough, like if you play an Underground Sea, by the way, quick tip, Underground Sea is by far, and I mean by far, the best map to do Scourge on. It is so insanely good. So if you're not baking up your tier 1 haunted mansions, which is the best tier 1 for sure, and you do want to bake a higher tier map, go for Underground Sea. It's incredible. The density is so good. It's so much better than every map, and I truly mean that. Like, it is just insane. Uh, you will get so many rewards. You will get, like, I got 300 stacks, which is not anything I've gotten. I was clearing like half the map with one cast of Wave of Conviction because everything was so packed shoulder to shoulder. I only had to go into the Scourge zone a couple of times to basically full clear the map. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. I might do a video just on Underground Sea because I think if people have probably been searching for the best Scourge map. It's Underground Sea. I'm very confident on that. Like, nothing else is giving me 300 exposure stacks or exposure to corruptions, and nowhere near as fast. I didn't count the rares in there, but I would be willing to bet that with as many monsters as there are, it's very good. So there's a little pro tip for you. You can get on top of the Underground Sea train before other people get on top of that, because everybody's focused on like Haunted Mansion and Dunes. There's tons of good maps for this, but Underground Sea is on a level of its own. It is like triple S tier as far as the maps go. It's really good. Go try it for yourself and you'll see what I mean. It's so insane. And I didn't have it juiced up or anything. It was just like that. I just elk and goat on it. So elked and went perhaps, but yeah. Would recommend. Do Underground Sea. 10 out of 10. Alright, let's go get this Veritania gone. So as far as bosses, you just apply your Wave of Conviction and then Flame Surge and at some point Flammability as well, and you'll take them out real quick. Won't be a problem. Alright. So I'm just gonna put a portal here just in case. I don't think I'll die, but I am a little squishy still, so better safe than sorry. But yeah, we'll wait for Veritania to pop up here. And this is missing like a third of my damage compared to what I normally was doing. Oop, don't want to be standing. Unfortunately, I only have a 2.5 second ignite because of a 2.5 second ignite because of the replica Emberwake. So you just basically alternate between, your skills. It's pretty quick, pretty easy. Damage will be scaled a lot higher than this at some point. But I do have a 2114 Wave of Conviction, which is, weird. But there you go. Last Watchstone down. So I can go do Cirrus at some point now. I may as well just clear the rest of this out. But yeah, you can see when things are packed like that, packed together, it's just... The clear is insane. It's so good. Unfortunately, this isn't the biggest weakness. As you can see, the movement speed is very slow. That's part of the reason I'm using Rot Gut, because Rot Gut gives me, well, it's not permanent because I haven't matched the duration of the flask. It's a little too long, so I have like I have a 1.2 second downtime every 9 seconds. So I either have to get one more frenzy charge, or I need to like somehow dequality or get an unqualityed Rot Gut in order to match the 9 seconds of onslaught I get. So that's kind of a whoopsie on my part. But yeah, you can always get permanent onslaught on like every character just using Rot Gut with the reused at the end of flask effect, and just run Blood Rage. And every single character you get frenzy charges and you get permanent onslaught while mapping. So if you're not doing that, I've done a video on that. It's a very simple tip and it's very strong. I'm not gonna go find out what I failed to clear here, but yeah, there you go. That's the map. Hopefully I didn't drop too many frames. My OBS has been acting up a little bit, but now I will go over the gear a little bit more and explain a little bit more about the character. So we'll start with the skill tree. I just leveled up with Purifying Flame with a couple of +1 Fire Gem wands until I got Wave of Conviction in Act 2. You want to get Added Fire, Controlled Destruction, Arcane Surge, whatever, basically whatever spell stuff you can get that kind of scales with. Added Fire is really good, and I currently have an Awakened Added Fire, but yeah, you can use Added Fire all the way through. It's going to give you a lot of extra damage. But yeah, I just popped up around here, grabbed Arcanist Domain and Heart and Soul, then popped up through this life, Cruel Preparation, got the +50 max life, really good early game. Came through here, and I actually just got Breath of Flames right away because I got it roughly around the time that that I got my first ascendancy. No, that's not accurate at all. I'm pretty sure I actually went over this way and grabbed Purity of Flesh first. But yeah, you want to get Breath of Flames and like the Acrimony and stuff right around the time you get your first ascendancy. You're not going to be playing Wave of Conviction as Ignite. You're just going to be playing it as a hit build up until you get your first ascendancy. And then you're going to switch up over to like all of your like Unbound Ailments, Deadly Ailments, Cruelty. Cruelty's huge. You can use Cruelty as soon as you get that as well. Cruelty's insane. Probably one of the best for damage over time and hit like hybrid builds ever. Like super good. Hey, it's Ryan from the future. I forgot to add a couple of things. One of the most important things about this build is actually Flame Surge. It deals 25% of your fire damage per second of Ignite affecting the enemy when you hit it in the form of a burning ground that appears underneath the enemy. Now, the important thing about this is we do a lot of Ignite damage per second, and it basically is a huge more multiplier. Now, the last little line says your damage modifiers don't apply to this burning ground, which means your fire damage, fire.multi, anything you have on the tree isn't going to affect it. But what can affect it is support gems. So I have Cruelty and Burning Damage support on here, which are both going to be a more multiplier to the fire damage. So like the Cruelty is 40%, that's going to bring it up to 35, and then another 32. So we're looking at like 42% more damage multiplier with our Flame Surge, which is why you notice such a huge burst of damage if you noticed that in mapping. I also plan to put a fourth link and put like Elemental Focus or something on there, another big more damage multiplier, and that should put us at around like 60-ish%, I think, as far as a more multiplier from our Flame Surge. And that's pretty big, because if we can get up to like 1,000,000 DPS, which is, I was surpassing that and then some. I was at like 1.3 million with 2 weapons, but even with 1 weapon we can hit 1,000,000 DPS pretty easily. That's going to give us an extra like 600,000 DPS, which is very, very big. I think this is also affected by exposure, and I believe it is also affected by like your flammability and generic increased damage taken. I'm sure if you had like nearby enemies have or take increased fire damage, that would also affect that as well. So Flame Surge is very important. I didn't actually mention that, and I also forgot to mention my cast on damage taken Molten Shell, but that's just normal. I think I did mention that actually, but then I mentioned everything else, I'm pretty sure, all the important stuff. So yeah, that's it, and back to the video. Yeah, the important things to note is you want to get all the fire damage over time stuff, the generic damage over time stuff. For this I have Duration of Ailments, which helps a lot with my Ignite Steel damage faster stuff, and as well as like the reduced duration, it helps counteract that with Unbound Ailments as well. For this I got the minus fire resist and 20 fire damage over time multiplier. I didn't get that until I had until I had a bunch of extra fire resistance. Obviously you don't want to go super negative fire resistance, you'll super die in Act 6. As far as the mana stuff, I don't really want to have this allocated, but I kind of need it right now, so I have reduced mana cost of skills with Deep Thoughts, along with the Tireless cluster, which gives reduced cost of skills. And actually right now I'm running a Conqueror's efficiency, which I don't know if I should be using that or not. One important thing to note is getting this reservation thing here with the 15% increased mana reservation of skills. And I also have a helm enchant that gives me a 30% increased hatred mana reservation efficiency. This allows me to run Herald of Ash, Hatred, Clarity, and Determination all at once, and still have enough to left over. Now my Clarity is kind of low level. It's level 10. I can probably get it to like 11 or 12 and still have enough mana to cast, which I will definitely do. But yeah, mana issues are a little hard on this. I'm sure there are ways to figure it out though. Other than what I have. Also need Dexterity for Hatred, so I have Agility and Expertise. But yeah, then you want to go down, grab Divine Fury and Divine Wrath. You might even want to just rush over there. So like once you get the Cruel Preparation, just swing on through Purity of Flesh and right on down to here. Because honestly, those are going to give you a lot of bang for your buck, Wave of Conviction, whether you're doing hit or ignite. So yeah, getting these two nodes is pretty big just early on. They're not as good as they used to be. They used to also give you fire and physical damage and lightning and physical damage, and the penetration doesn't do that much for us at the moment. But you know, but once you get these and maybe like Devotion as well, you want to grab like the aura stuff so you can start stacking auras, then all of your damage over time multi stuff, and then you just fill out. Getting Arsonist and Magmatic Strikes is important at some point. I have Vanquisher. I don't think I need it because I have Cluster Jewel, so I might spec out of this just to give me more points to play around with defensively. I'll probably lose a lot of, well, maybe not a lot of damage, but yeah, the Cluster Jewel is more efficient. Like I'm running Battle Hardened, which gives 35 phys damage. Then I'm getting 14% damage from each of these, 12 physical and 2. The reason you scale physical damage is that's what Wave of Conviction's base is, and everything converts from there. So all of the phys as extra X stuff is going to scale off of that, and then like generic damage and elemental damage will further scale that. Fire damage is going to scale the additional damage along with the ignite itself, so it almost kind of double dips. So fire damage is very, very powerful for this build as well, especially considering a bulk of our damage is fire. Between things like added fire, Herald of Ash, and such. We could just convert it all to fire with Avatar of Fire, but I actually think that would be detrimental to our damage by a pretty significant amount. But yeah, there's a lot I can mess around with still. Another important thing I'm using later on, I added Divine Shield. I have a body armor here. This is a nice body armor. Except for it does have minus 24 to chaos resist, but it's 10% aura effect, which is huge. And then I got +1 to socketed active skill gem levels. This is currently bringing my Wave of Conviction up to 23. It was 24 when I had my second weapon equipped. And then also has a lot of life, some resistances, and one of the important things is maximum life as extra maximum energy shield. That coupled with a couple of pieces of energy shield gives me 913 energy shield, and I have Divine Shield, which gives me 3% of physical damage prevented from hits recently is regenerated as energy shield per second. This is a huge buffer on our life. When we have our flasks up, which is all the time, and I'm going to explain the flask setup, we have over 16,000 armor, so we're going to be mitigating a decent amount, and I'm going to scale that up. I'm going to get a lot of percent armor over here still, so that's going to help scale that as well. But yeah, that's pretty big. And you know, other than that, I guess, yeah, the Cluster Jewel, just physical stuff with I think Grim Oath and Battle Hardened are going to be your best bets as far as two notables. And then I have this jewel. For jewels, if you want to find some cool jewels, all of the damage scales your ignite. It doesn't matter. Physical damage is ideal. Like I have 12 to 15 spell damage while dual wielding, which I'm no longer doing, so I'm actually losing out on that. But honestly, if you just look for the highest like that you can afford, life, and then any damage to spells at all. Like you just find the generic damage to spells. That's going to be really big. Okay, last we'll go over gear. I'm going to start with the flasks because they're important. I have a corrupted blood removal flask, which I want to change. I could potentially get corrupted blood removal from here, or I could get it on a jewel. Like I have this Conqueror's Efficiency that I don't really need. I can just put any corrupted blood immune jewel there, and that would be a big upgrade. But at the moment I have it on my life flask, which isn't very good. I don't have it qualitied, and I need to change this out. But I will as soon as I get another corrupted blood immune. I don't want to waste the resources on that. I have a granite flask, which gives me charges when you're hit by an enemy. And then I also have a basalt flask that has gain charges when you're hit by an enemy. In addition, I have both of them with used when charges reach full. This is tech I found from Ziggy D. Shout out to Ziggy D. Basically allows you to keep them up pretty much permanently in mapping situations. In bosses, it's going to go down unless there are ads in the bosses. You're not going to be getting hit as frequently, but yeah, this is really big for just constantly keeping up your flasks in map. Things are hitting you constantly. And then I have an Etziri's Promise that gets used automatically when I hit a rare or unique enemy. This gives me a very large amount of damage. Here, let's see. So on the top end, I have 370 some thousand. And then when I press that, it goes up to, I gain like over 20,000 damage roughly. Just from Etziri's Promise, and that doesn't, I gain even more when I have my cruelty buff up. Cruelty is giving me 40% more damage, which will scale this even further, so I'm probably gaining like 30 or 40,000 damage per second from this, plus a little leech. Even though our hits aren't that big, leech always helps. Lastly, I'm using the Rat Gut, which is reused at the end of Flask effect. Yeah, basically you just use this in conjunction with Blood Rage. You pop Blood Rage, you get 3 Frenzy charges in the beginning of the map, you press your Rat Gut, and as long as you're zooming through the map, you're just going to constantly have 40% movement speed plus an additional 20% from Onslaught, plus 20% cast speed, which is really important because Wave of Conviction has kind of slow cast speed, and you don't want to get locked in place. So having that up is really huge and very important. As far as the weapon, you want to look for things like damage over time multi, fire damage over time multi, damage to spells. The most important things are plus to gem levels. So if you can get one with plus to all spell skills and then plus to either physical, lightning, or fire, that's the best thing. You can choose between a lot of different scepters because this is a fire, lightning, and physical spell, meaning any of them will scale. This gives you a lot of flexibility when finding your weapon. And then fire damage is good, damage over time, elemental damage, any of that is just generically good. So you want to get as much as that as possible. Things like crit chance and crit multi are not useful at all, obviously, but I guess you do a little bit more damage if you crit with your ignite, but that's only happening like 8% of the time, so it's not something you can rely on. And it's 5% if you don't have the crit strike on here, which I do. Helmet, like I said, you want some sort of increased mana reservation efficiency because you're not really getting anything from Wave of Conviction helmet chance. So you want Hatred or Malevolence, whichever you would prefer to use, or like Determination, although you can get Determination efficiency from the Armor Master. So if you got combat stamina like I'm going to get in 3 levels, so by 87 I'll have more reduced, and then I might be able to like add a banner or something as well to this, perhaps the one that gives me like armor and evasion. That'd be really nice. But yeah, this just life and resists. Other than that, got some energy shield on it as well. This amulet's pretty good. It's got a lot of dot multi. I think this is a tier 1 dot multi roll. I actually got this from ROG. If you've never crafted with ROG, you should learn how to do that because ROG makes some of the best stuff. I've gotten so many. I've sold a couple items this league for like in between 1 to 3 exalts that I crafted from ROG, and plus kept a couple of pieces like this for myself. Even the cold damage isn't wasted because we're using hatred and getting a bunch of extra cold damage as well. So that's actually useful. The evasion's not very useful, but then lightning resist and tier 1 life. So overall, pretty nice. My anoint is elemental focus, which gives increased duration of elemental ailments, which helps scale with the replica Emberwake, because duration is basically more damage with ignites you inflict deal damage faster, the way it works. So if the duration is longer and it inflicts it faster, it's basically like another more damage multiplier. So you want to scale a lot of duration with your ignites deal damage faster. Speaking of, I forgot to mention Searing Heat. This is actually very important because it gives you 20% ignites deal damage faster. So yeah, that's important. Okay, back to the gear. I talked about the body armor. It's very good. This ring just has life and resists, and dex, which I need. You need some dexterity on gear, and honestly, like ring and amulet are the only things you can realistically get it on. Possibly gloves as well. So you definitely want some dex on one of those slots. Belt, I just have life, flask effect duration, which is actually hindering me. I'll probably upgrade this belt because it's making me have more downtime on my rock gut. So believe it or not, well, but it is helpful for my basalt and granite flasks as well. So I guess maybe I should consider that. Possibly I should just, I can't realistically pick up another frenzy charge outside of getting it from corrupt or something. So that would be the only way to help maintain that. Gloves, these have life regeneration rate, which isn't really helpful. Some resist, damage over time, which is nice, and chance to avoid being stunned. I picked these up for kind of a steal. I think these were like 15 or 20 chaos, which I think is really good for these gloves, especially because they have utility. They were a lot better when I was running golems because the life regeneration rate was scaled with my stone golem greatly. It was very, very powerful. And then, of course, Aberrath's hooves. Aberrath's hooves are perhaps the only mandatory item besides possibly Replica Emberwake in the whole build. So these are pretty cheap at the moment. They may not always be cheap. If you're watching this in the future and want to follow this build, check the price. They're usually not that expensive, though. They're a pretty common, unique, and I always see them around, so... but yeah, Replica Emberwake was a little more expensive. I think this was like 25C, but not too expensive. Like my whole build combined is maybe 5 exalts, and it's still kind of, it could be a lot cheaper and still be functional for sure. The shield, this shield is not mandatory. It's probably not even good. I'll probably replace it very quickly, but it is fine for now. It's got armor, ES, gives me glancing blows, just a bunch of free black stuff, increased max life, which is nice. So yeah, this is a fine shield. You can use this, but a good rare shield with just like life, spell block, maybe some spell suppress, block, you know, anything like that is going to be better. And then maybe higher armor as well would be good. So yeah, that's pretty much the build. I'm having a lot of fun with it. Hopefully by tomorrow I'll have powered it up a little bit more and figured out some of my slots like my belt and shield and stuff that I need to figure out, leveled up some of my skill gems more, and I might be back. Otherwise I'll be back the following day whenever I make a significant increase. I hope you enjoyed. I'll have a POB in the description below. This has been Ryan from Behind Eyes Gaming, and I will see you next time. Bye.